Good morning, distinguished guests, friends, family members, and employees of United States Army Garrison Fort Greely. Welcome to the United States Army Garrison Fort Greely Change of Command Ceremony. Today, Lieutenant Colonel Joy Orr relinquishes command of United States Army Garrison Fort Greely to Lieutenant Colonel Keith Marshall. My name is Elliot Ross. It is my distinct pleasure to serve as the Master of Ceremonies. Among our distinguished guests for today's ceremony are J.W. Musgrove, Mayor, Delta Junction; Emily Dove, Deputy Mayor, Delta Junction; Timothy Jones, Civilian Aide to the Secretary of the Army, Alaska North; Colonel Nathan Suri, Commander, U.S. Army Garrison, Alaska; Command Sergeant Major Ruben Murillo, Command Sergeant Major, U.S. Army Garrison, Alaska; Ms. Catherine Miller, Deputy to the Garrison Commander, U.S. Army Garrison, Alaska; Ms. Yvette Young, Magistrate Judge, Delta Junction; Colonel Stephen Phillips, Deputy Commander of Sustainment, 11th Airborne Division; Colonel Michael Arnett, Commander, Deputy Commander, Clinical Services, Medical Activity, Alaska. The color guard for today's ceremony is represented by the 49th Missile Defense Battalion, Fort Greely, Alaska. So, a little history. The history of Fort Greely was established as the Army's Corps Station, number 17, Alaska Wing of the Air Transportation Command in 1942, and was a refueling point for aircraft sent to Russia under the Lend-Lease program. It was then placed in an inactive status immediately following World War II, but the airfield was maintained by the Civil Aeronautics Authority for civilian use. It was then reactivated in 1948 as the United States Troops Big Delta, Alaska, and the site was home of the Army Arctic Training Center. It was designated as Fort Greely in 1955 in honor of Major Adolphus Washington Greely. Fort Greely has a proud history and has been the site for training and testing of operations and equipment through the past half century, taking advantage of its location and environment. In 1995, Fort Greely underwent base realignment and closure, and most of the land associated with Fort Greely was transferred to the operational control of United States Army Alaska. In 2001, Fort Greely was partially removed from the base realignment and closure list in order to support the national objective of missile defense. Today, Fort Greely proudly serves as the primary support base for a host of tenants supporting the ground-based mid-course missile defense initiative, while continuing to host training and testing activities. Current tenant units include United States Army Garrison Fort Greely, 49th Missile Defense Battalion, 59th Signal Battalion, Medical Activity Alaska, and the Cold Regions Test Center. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the invocation by Chaplain Carhill and remain standing for the singing of the national anthem.
If you'll please join me in prayer according to your faith tradition. Almighty God, as we gather today and reflect on the challenges and sacrifices necessary to lead, it is appropriate that at the beginning we acknowledge you. Lord, you are familiar with sacrifice, bearing burdens, and setting the example for others to follow. So we pray this morning that as Lieutenant Colonel Orr passes the colors, he does so with a sense of sacredness for this moment. May he recognize your guiding hand in all aspects of his life. Allow Colonel Orr to know that his efforts, vision, leadership will impact the Fort Greely garrison and community long after his departure. Enable him, his bride Courtney, daughter Swayze, and son River to enjoy moments together that aren't always afforded during command as they continue to lead soldiers and serve families while in Norfolk, Virginia. We welcome to command Lieutenant Colonel Marshall, his bride Ann, sons Wesley, Bradley, and daughters Kimberly and Jordan, who's still in school. We trust that you will honor his efforts in doing so. May he win the confidence of the garrison and community, the favor of his supervisors, and the approval of you, Lord. Lord, on behalf of all those assembled, would you renew our awareness today that we live in the sight of heaven. Let us perform our duties not only for the approval of our country, but to honor all those in what we do. It's in your most holy and precious name we pray. Amen.
Present. On. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave. Order, Dan. Order, up.
Please be seated. The official party for today's ceremony consists of Colonel Nathan Surrey, United States Army Garrison, Alaska Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Joey Orr, Outgoing Commander, and Lieutenant Colonel Keith Marshall, Incoming Commander. Traditionally, at this time, we would present both the outgoing and incoming Garrison Fort Greely First Ladies and their families with flowers donated by our command team and gifts to both the Orr and Marshall families. However, today, because Dr. Orr could not be here, as a special tribute to the outgoing First Lady of United States Army Garrison Fort Greely, we ask that you stand and give a warm round of applause for Dr. Courtney Orr, the wife of Lieutenant Colonel Orr. Please be seated. This applause from your Fort Greely family is one that reflects the loving concern that was shown to USAG Fort Greely during the past 2 years, symbolizing the beauty and fulfillment of your role and time as First Lady of the United States Army Garrison Fort Greely. The Garrison would also like to bid farewell to Lieutenant Colonel Orr's daughters, Swayze and son River. At this time, a bouquet of yellow rosebuds is being presented to Mrs. Ann Marshall, the wife of Lieutenant Colonel Marshall. Yellow is the color of new beginning and symbolizes Mrs. Marshall's arrival as the new First Lady of United States Army Garrison Fort Greely. In time, the rosebuds will bloom, as will her relationship with the soldiers, civilians, and families of the command. The Garrison would also like to welcome Lieutenant Colonel Marshall's son, Wesley, daughters Kimberly and Jordan, and son, Bradley. Welcome. The transfer of colors is significant in many ways. The history, traditions, and accomplishments of the United States Army Garrison Fort Greely are embodied in these colors. With the transfer, the unit's legacy is passed on as a building block for future performance and accomplishments. Historically, the colors serve as the focal point, which soldiers rallied around as they move forward in battle. The colors have traditionally been at the side of the commander and were carried forward even when the commander fell in combat. And so, with the transfer of the color goes the transfer of responsibility and authority for the accomplishment of the mission and the welfare of the soldiers and civilian employees. Command Sergeant Major Dunham passes the colors to Lieutenant Colonel Orr signifying the last official action between the United States Army Fort Greely and Lieutenant Colonel Orr. Lieutenant Colonel Orr passes the colors to Colonel Surrey. Colonel Surrey accepts the colors from Lieutenant Colonel Orr. Colonel Surrey thanks him for his service and then passes the colors to Lieutenant Colonel Marshall. Colonel Surrey charges Lieutenant Colonel Marshall with the responsibility of command of United States Army Garrison, Fort Greely. Lieutenant Colonel Marshall then passes the colors back to Command Sergeant Major Dunham, Senior Non-Commissioned Officer, United States Army Garrison, Fort Greely, who is charged with keeping the colors. By the order and authority of Army Regulation 600-20, paragraph 2-5, the undersigned assumes command of United States Army Garrison, Fort Greely, effective 23 June 2023, signed Keith A. Marshall, Lieutenant Colonel, Air Defense Commanding. Ladies and gentlemen, Colonel Surrey, Commander, United States Army Garrison, Alaska.
No excuses on that failure on that movement, but Joey was making me emotional up there, which really just shows the passion that you've had down here. I can't ever remember the actual commander that's hosting it getting emotional, but it may happen to me personally today because of what this community means to you, me, and the Army, quite frankly. I want to welcome our friends here, Tim Jones, our CASA and former Garrison commander of U.S. Army Garrison, Alaska. What a wonderful person to have as our CASA, because you really understand what we go through. And I can't thank you enough for everything you give to us, in your tenure. I'd like to welcome the mayors here, Mayor Musgrove and Deputy Mayor Dove. Thanks for everything you do to help this wonderful community. You guys are integrated like no other that I've seen in the Army. Colonel Phillips, Colonel Arnett, I know you're here somewhere in the crowd. Thanks for coming down here. And then all the folks from U.S. Army Garrison, Alaska up at Wainwright that made the trip. It just shows how much we truly are integrated between the two posts. I also want to start by welcoming our families in attendance here today. Courtney, I know you'll see this later. We got to say goodbye to you last month. You are truly amazing. And your two wonderful children, Swayze and River, and your dog Lola. You, as I said back in the award ceremony, if you could take a family and put a picture in the dictionary and say this is what a command team should be, it would be the Orrs. To the Marshall family, or the Marshall clan, as I might say, Ann, Wesley, Kimberly, Bradley, and then Jordan, who's in Florida, I believe, in college. Again, wonderful to have you on board. I know you just recently made the trek up here. You are going to be amazed at how tight this community really is. Just phenomenal. Team Greely, you continue to set the standard for creating a warm, inviting environment here in the Community Activity Center. Again, the tightest community, I would probably say, in the entire Army. Fort Greely, I was thinking about this. It's like a Bob Ross painting. Right? Now, for some of you, the younger generation, probably the folks standing up here don't even know what I'm talking about. There's a movie coming out, by the way, about Bob Ross. It's a comedy. But for those of you who remember watching Bob Ross, he was always painting what's in this background over here. Always had the pine trees, always had the mountains, some beautiful sunset. And that's what people would watch and envision. Man, I want to live in a place like that. But the reality is, not everybody can do that. Right? The reality is, to live in a place like this, you must be resilient, you must be tough, you must be selfless, and you must help each other out. For example, a grocery store that we had here in town collapsed, basically caved in. That's the only grocery store, I believe, right, in the town. And everybody came together to figure out how to help. That's just one small example. We're opening up our community CAC to the community of Delta Junction, for example. I just signed that the other day, and so that's a whole new thing. Because Fort Greely is Delta Junction and vice versa. What a wonderful place to be. And that is why you are called the rugged professionals, right? That is a true name that's very fitting. Another thing I was thinking about is the definition of leadership as the Army defines it, at least the way I know it. It may have changed because we're always changing doctrine, but I think this definition pretty much hits it. It's about providing purpose, motivation, and direction to accomplish the mission and improve the organization. That part there is often forgotten. And Joey, you did this. And not only that, you and your wife and your family were the perfect command team to lead this organization. And to quote Miss Miller from the other day, our deputy commander, the right leader at the right time at the right place. You're no stranger to Alaska. You chose this place first, just like I did Fort Wainwright. When we learned that from each other 2 years ago, when we came out on the command list together, it was unbelievable. I couldn't believe it. I was like, how is that possible? That two people actually chose these two places because, again, it's a special type of person that wants to live up here, right? And we love it. You are both humble, empathetic, and innovative. But most of all, your infectious positive attitude is your superpower, as Catherine likes to say about people, and that is you. And that is the foundation for everything else, is attitude, right? It is bolted together with character, which is non-negotiable, and you have that. But the attitude thing is the hard one. That's an intangible. I have to work on it. You have personally mentored me on how to do that. You've made me a better leader by watching you, just as you have everybody else in this room. And so you will do whatever you want, whether it's in the Army or in the other side at some point, because you have the right attitude. And I think everybody would agree on that. Getting us through the pandemic, I won't even say the word because I hate it. It's a 4-letter word to me, even though it's a 5-letter acronym. But you did that. JPMRC, Joint Pacific Multinational Readiness Center. It's happened twice. The first year, it landed squarely on you down here and the team at Fort Greely, and you opened up your arms. This team opened up their arms and figured out how to get to yes and make that mission successful. You just did. And you were commended by that all the way up to the 4-star level across the Army of what this installation did. And we'll do again next February, because that's where it's coming. And as I say here, right, the bottom line is you reverse mentored me. You showed me how to be a much better leader. On behalf of all of us at Fort Greely, Fort Wainwright, thank you for your impactful leadership that will resonate for decades. I'm sure I'm not alone. Alicia and I look forward to maintaining contacting with you and Courtney and your family, watching you continue to flourish, whatever the future carries for you. Keith and Ann, again, welcome to the team. You hit the jackpot. Get your hunting and fishing gear ready. Command is one of the toughest, most rewarding jobs in the Army. The hours are long at times. Your off-duty time is never really your own because you're waiting on the phone call, and you live in a fishbowl. You're serving alongside American troopers and civilians that have a legitimate strategic mission each and every day, and they are the best and brightest that we have to offer. Commanding is without question the greatest honor and privilege that can be bestowed on an American. I told you this made me emotional, man. Because my tenure's coming up too, so it's tough. This is why former commanders will often say your worst day in command is still better than your best day otherwise. So my advice to you is listen, learn, and lead. General McChrystal. If you haven't seen that TED Talk, it's one of the best you'll ever see. It's about 15 minutes long. And in that order, because in Garrison Command, you do not know what's going on when you first come in. That is a fact. What you did in the MTO world will not work in Garrison. You are going to be taught by your civilians who are the experts. You have to learn it for the first 6 months and learn it's going to take time to get things done. There's a few things that you can do right away. Most of them take a lot of time because of the system. That's my best advice. Listen, learn, and then lead. Take care of your team and they will endure and overcome insurmountable odds for you. That's the bottom line. Thank you again to all the rugged professionals for everything you do each day to support each other and to defend our nation. Arctic tough, thriving in the last frontier. God bless you all.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have remarks by Lieutenant Colonel Orr.
I forgot. Rest. There we go.
Oh, what a good man. Thank you, Battle Buddy. Just give me a second to soak in this. Look at all these great teammates. Mike, Ryan. Distinguished guests, local leaders, rugged professionals, teammates, thank you. Simply thank you for being here today. It really matters to me, it matters to Keith, it matters to our families, and this is what we'll remember for many years to come. They said I got 10 minutes for this, so hold on. I'm gonna use every second, I promise. Just having a conversation with you, trying my hardest to let you know how much you absolutely matter to me. In no specific order, as I've rehearsed this over the past week, running the bison trail with my dog and making sure I remember as many of you as I can that were so impactful on my family and I during this amazing 2-year journey. I want to start with the Stutz family. My neighbor, my battle buddy, ooh, here he comes. We came in bright-eyed, summer of 21, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. But quickly, I think we realized on the first day we were gonna do it together. We're gonna tackle every challenge together as a team. This installation deserved that, and honestly, the two of us deserve that. And I'm super, super proud, Chris, of what we were able to accomplish as a family, both personally and professionally over the past 2 years. I'm confident in saying that we left Fort Greely better than how we found it because of our efforts. But I also want to highlight what your family did for my family in the cold, dark winters. It's lonely on top. You get less and less friends you can fight in. But we found that sanctuary in your kitchen, your living room, your dining table, just being friends and enduring life together as Army leaders and Army families. So for those memories, HK, Chris, Elizabeth, beautiful little Christopher, thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will see you again. I look forward to seeing your names up in lights for years to come and on numerous lists. From my other peers on post, Dwayne, Jonathan, battle buddies, great neighbors, great teammates. It's been a blast. I couldn't have done it without you. It's nice to be able to confide in peers without judgment or criticism and just sound advice and friendship. And you guys were the perfect definition of that. All right, moving into the directorates. I'm gonna go macro in this compliment because there's so many of you. But I hope you're saying to yourselves, it doesn't matter, sir, because I know you put the effort in over the past 2 years to come see us individually. And Courtney and I prided ourselves in doing that early and often and lifting you up and reminded you how special you are. It's all about people, it's all about you. The directorates, small but mighty, you hear me say it often. I'll put you up against any of them. Liberty, Cavazos, all the big ones, bring it. This team is ironclad, well-oiled superheroes. The systems, the processes, the routine things routinely. Those compliments I get to hear at Echelon, and it's my job, it's Courtney's job, to remind you when we see you. I'm telling you, you have a world-famous reputation, and I'm so grateful I was on your team for a short few years. Keep up the good work, don't change anything. For the special staff, the teammates I got to see on a routine basis in Building 501 for 8+ hours a day. How lucky was I? Filled with personality, humor, work ethic, desire, devotion. I laughed, I cried. I knew your children's names, you knew mine. I knew how your weekend went. You asked about mine. I knew about your vacations, your hunting successes, or lack thereof. We were one team every day, and I'm never gonna forget you. How lucky was I to be spoiled rotten? Diara, DeRay, Jake, DeRay, Jim, Angie, Herman, the ladies in RM, all the team downstairs. I got to see you all day. And all you did, don't think I didn't notice, was lift me up to ensure I can give you the best version of myself, and I'll never, ever be able to say thank you. To USAG, Alaska, Colonel Surrey, Catherine Miller, Sergeant Major Murillo. Doesn't get any better. I know it's a dated doctrinal term, and my warfighter teammates in the room are gonna get angry, but you're a perfect example of mission command, sir. Crystal clear intent, resourced, and then maximum flexibility and decision space. That doesn't happen often, y'all. Definitely not on Compo 1. I thrived in it, and what I realized here at the end, it was my favorite part, sir. The trust your team had in me, Rich, and the command here, and with that flexibility, I didn't want to let you down. And so we just continue to thrive within your intent. Thank you. IMCOM Pacific, 20 years in service next week. I had never met an SES. I thought they were unicorns and myths. And then I found myself working for one as a brand new lieutenant colonel. It was like, this can be really intimidating. But instead it actually ended up being like a top 5 most rewarding experience. He controls the Pacific, all the installations in the Pacific. I'm just an indirect 05 Garrison commander. He's not gonna have time for me. False. 4 times he came and visited us here in Alaska. 4 times. He demanded a monthly conversation with me. They lasted for an hour. Do you know how much we talked about work? Do you know how much we talked about me, my family, how we're getting through the winter? People first. And I got to enjoy it at Echelon. It doesn't happen. It doesn't happen. And then we have Lieutenant General Karbler to continue this story. I'm a lieutenant colonel. I work for a 3-star. That's not common. But then I get to work for a 3-star that leads the best organization in the Army. That's not opinion, that's fact. Rated #1. He would smoke me right now if you heard me say it, but I'm going to use it because it's a word you all would understand. #1 in employee satisfaction. Happiness. We don't say employee on this team. We say teammate, family. #1 in the Army. Infinite wisdom, kind and powerful mentorship. And then I get a 3-star G-staff when things get weird. I get help. It's a great installation, y'all, but it's loved. I know we get busy in our daily routines and all we see is what's in front of our face and the wicked problem that we're slaying. But just remember, after I get off this podium, you are absolutely loved, appreciated, and respected. To the school district that serves over 500 military children in our community. Thank you. Blue ribbon for the elementary school, 1 of 2 in the entire state, not on accident. Sean Striley and his team, world class. And they brought me in and made me feel like part of the team, not just because I have a seat at the table with school board, because they realize how much Fort Greely matters, and then they let me know quickly how much I matter. That was awesome, you all. Some of my favorite memories are reading to your children and being part of your team. Thank you, Sean. Mayor Musgrove, they don't get any cooler than you, sir. Sorry. You're the absolute Webster's definition of swagger, and I strive to be like you. Thank you for letting me be part of your team. Thank you for being patient with me. It was always something crazy happen on a Tuesday night, and I could only come in for a few minutes to pay respect, but you were always there for me, and you lifted me up for 2 years. I'm so grateful for you and the entire city council team, and I know Ken can't be here today, but please give him all my love. I'm gonna close. It's gonna get weird, and I'm sure there's somebody I forgot. Just know I love you. Dr. Courtney Lynn Orr. That's why it's gonna be so hard. The coolest girl I've ever met. When I met her in Kansas City as a major, the school for majors on Fort Leavenworth, she didn't know what a sergeant was. We met on a dating app. She didn't even know what the Army was. She never said no. She never said that sounds hard or scary. She just put her absolute love and trust into me. And she followed me to Alaska for our first assignment married. back in 2016, where I worked 25 hours a day with teammates like Ryan Accusio. Never judged me, never asked for more, just filled me with love and support. And we dominated. We dominated. So much we loved the state, we begged to come back. We put Fort Greely #1. She didn't say no. She didn't say, that sounds hard. We got kids now. We got a dog. Like, we can't do that. She said yes. And we came up here and we thrived through 2 difficult winters, 2 wonderful years of command. And then I reached 20 years. But we now have an option to retire with pension. Never came up at the dinner table. Never even was discussed. Where are we going next, babe? I can't wait to be your ride or die. How lucky am I? Wherever you're at right now watching this, babe, I love you so much. Thank you for our beautiful children. Thank you for how you lead them. But more importantly, thank you for how you lead me. I know you usually don't close recognizing these people. You close with the spouse. But for you all don't know, I'm 4th generation Army. Both my grandfathers are command sergeants major. My father was a successful armor officer. This wasn't an option, this was chosen. But I knew from 2nd lieutenant, everything runs through your senior non-commissioned officer. No choice. As a 2nd lieutenant, qualifying tank gunner en route to Iraq, I put all my trust and love in Sergeant First Class Ronald J. Graves. I just hugged him 2 weeks ago in San Antonio as Command Sergeant Major Ronald J. Graves at a 2-star nominative position. It's a pleasure to be friends with your senior NCOs and learn from them. I had 2 of the best. Jimmy Brakefield, what a friend, what an ally, in my first year when I was completely oblivious. He punched it right into my soul, and he gave me an oasis here in the winter for me to catch my breath as we dominated in the bowling league. But he showed me that it's okay at this level to still be friends and have a real human relationship with your senior non-commissioned officers. And then insert Jarvis Dunham. Team Greely, you're in good hands. It's a lot of leader turnover this summer, but the continuity resides in that E9, that command sergeant major. And I want you to lean on him and love him the same way you did me, because he is going to take such good care of you. I love you. I'll stop there. Team, I got one last thing to say. Stay rugged.
Ladies and gentlemen, we will now have remarks by the new Fort Greely Garrison Commander, Lieutenant Colonel Marshall.
Good morning. Sorry, hard to follow Joey's emotional goodbyes, and really appreciate all you've done, Joey, and thank you for the warm handover. Colonel Seri, Sergeant Major Murillo, Miss Miller, Mr. Musgrove, Miss Dove, mission partners, distinguished guests, esteemed colleagues, families, thank you for attending today's change of command, either in person or watching this from afar. I'd like to first recognize my mentors, Major General Retired Clem Coward, Brigade General Guy Jones, Colonel Josh Moon, Colonel Retired Dusty O'Neill, Colonel Heliasus Bairu, Colonel Brian Newell for their leadership, guidance, and unwavering support throughout the years. Thank you again for your investment in me, and I will pay it forward every day to our nation and Army. Thank you to Lieutenant General Karbler for the opportunity to command this great team. Special gratitude for my mothers, Becky, Sue, and Donna, my dads, Burton and Ron, brothers Chris and Tom, and my sisters Mary, Casey, Corey for their love and support. You are all invited to come and visit anytime, but please call first. Another special family I would like to honor is the Orr family. Joey, Courtney, you have welcomed us to the regular professional family with open arms and cannot thank you enough for all you have done for us in this community. Ann and I are hopeful that our paths will cross again in the future. Furthermore, I'd like to thank the team for a smooth, seamless transition, and I'm eager to begin working with our mission partners here and at Fort Wainwright, and along with the Delta Junction community. Truly, my family and I are honored to be a part of this rugged professional team. Finally, I want to thank my wife, Ann, and kids, Wesley, Kimberly, Bradley, and Jordan. We are all on this Army adventure together, and I appreciate your support and love as we embark on this next chapter of our story. I truly feel blessed that we are on this journey together, and I love you. All policies and procedures remain in effect. Rugged 6 signing on.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and join us in singing the Army song. Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our change of command ceremony. A reception event will be held in the multipurpose room here at the Aurora Communities Activity Center for Lieutenant Colonel Marshall and his family. Family members and guests are welcome to come. Those of you who are departing, please drive safely to your destinations, and thank you for your attendance.